Hell yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Another week, another episode.
Yeah, buddy.
Just after Christmas, in that weird lull between Christmas and New Year's.
Yeah.
How was your Christmas, buddy?
It was Christmas. Let's just say that. It was I mean, I made it good for the kid, obviously, but Christmas is hard, right?
Yeah.
For me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You lose people, it's you wish, they're around at times like this, but I mean, it is what it is. It's okay. Life
That's
goes
right.
on. But
Good,
I mean,
man.
it was nice. And then I didn't get to see my mom actually until yesterday. So me and
That
my daughter
was,
went up there.
was that yesterday that we
Yeah, it
talked?
was yeah.
Holy Jesus. I don't
Yeah.
even know what day it is anymore, man.
Yeah, so I went up. She got to open up her presents, and then today actually she went to go to check on her cancer. She went to the clinic there, and so far it's all good news. They said come back in 6 months, so that's
Good.
good news. So
That's good news.
yeah, man.
And we're still doing this. We don't take holidays from this. We're
Hell
still
no.
here.
Yep.
Got people who listens. If you're listening, if you could drop us a follow on any social media platform at Raw Minds Podcast, it'd be greatly appreciated. We're really trying to push YouTube right now, and Facebook and Instagram. If you could just drop us a follow, we'd appreciate that. Also, leave us a review, even if it's like constructive criticism. Just leave us one. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your thoughts about guests, the dynamic of the show, how shitty of a person we can be to each other. I don't know. Fuck anything. Like whatever.
We
Just
want to hear
any.
it.
Yeah, we just want to hear it. Any information helps. Yeah, man. New Year's is tomorrow.
It is. Holy shit! It is too.
Yeah, man.
Holy
It's not
shit!
New Year's Eve today. It's tomorrow's New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
I don't
Wow.
understand the whole fad of New Year's. I've never really been one for New Year's resolutions. I remember hearing this when I was like 16, man, and I never forgot it. It was like I can't remember it word for word, but essentially like don't let New Year's resolutions be your excuse for your shitty behavior today. Like I don't need to wait 365 days to make a life change. Like if I really want to change my life, it's like I do it then. Like anything
100%.
between now and then is just like that's just an excuse to continue being the person I am without changing, right? So New Year's to me, I mean, I'll have my kids. If I can get them some 7-Up or something, get them some champagne glasses and celebrate with them. But other than that, like it's nothing to me. It's just another day.
But yeah, I'll probably be sleeping.
Yeah.
I'm almost sleeping every New Year's, man. It's like I said, another day.
That's right. That's right.
I want to comment on something though that we
Yeah, buddy.
received today.
Yeah, buddy, go for it.
So we received this. I think it was kind of cute actually. I'm just gonna scroll up here. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. There we go. So this guy commented on one of our videos. Mic drop. Will someone hold a space at a TRT clinic for these guys because there's way too much lactating going on here? What the fuck? TRT is
Testosterone replacement therapy.
Exactly. Well, we appreciate you, so we're gonna leave this up. And if you're watching this, we left you a nice little comment.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for your comment and thanks for watching our video. Appreciate it.
Unfortunately, we're not going to let one person who's insecure about themselves deter us from our vulnerability.
Yep.
It is what it is.
So that being said, mic drop. If you want to, talk about your feelings,
hit us
we'll
up.
make an episode for you, buddy.
Yeah, man. But I'm excited for tonight's guest because this is a little bit of a different dynamic than we typically do. We have people who come on and tell their story and the tools that they utilize to overcome their traumas and everything like that. While our guest does have a story that I'm sure we'll get into, I'm also very excited because he took his recovery and applied it to sugar addiction, and now I would say he's a health professional. That's what I would call him. I asked him if he was a doctor. He said no. So I would say a health professional. And he's kind of created a place, and he also has a summit coming up that relates to sugar addiction. And I don't want to botch the information because he is far more educated, and that's why he's here to talk about it. So I will let him do the talking. So why don't we bring Mike on in?
Sounds good. Welcome in, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Guys, thanks.
No
So I have to
problem.
say, Anthony's been talking about this ever since your email, actually, to be honest with you. He's like, I need this. I need this. He's like, 4 chocolate bars in. He's like, this is going to help me, definitely.
Right.
So he's been excited for this.
I've been on a lot of recovery podcasts, and usually about halfway through, the host says, I had you on because I've been sober 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and I can't put down the sugar.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting perspective that I never even really considered, because when you and I had first talked, you had, I forget how you phrased it, but it's just like, yeah, you put the drugs and the alcohol down and like, that's good, right? So then it's like we find other ways to self-soothe that are quote unquote not as bad, right? Like
Right.
I'm not abandoning my kids to go get a bottle of Pepsi by any means. You know what I mean? So in my brain, it makes sense. It's like, that's not as bad, right? But the way you described it to us when we had the one conference call with you made a lot of sense. And it was like, holy shit. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to getting right into this with you.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, and you also have to look at the other end of it, which most people don't. And I think of it as the original gateway drug, because it's so ubiquitous and so easy to get. And even children can have a lot of it. People don't realize the science is getting very clear now that it's affecting the brain and the emotions at a very, probably in the womb, but definitely at a very young age. Folks are. And then when that's not working at 14 or 15 to quell old trauma or everyday stuff, then they get the alcohol. And then at the other side, if they get sober, it turns into and I don't want to criticize, but, it's in the big book twice. And, meetings are sugar, caffeine, and nicotine fests. And people start to have health issues pretty quickly. They substitute sugar for their drug of choice. So it's insidious, and honestly, like smoking, the science is now getting very, very clear. As you mentioned, our summit, the Quit Sugar Summit, which is January the 6th, it's free. And I've interviewed 400 of the world's leading experts. And it really hasn't been but the last or so years where the brain science has taken front and center to the point where there's now a new field in the field of psychiatry called metabolic psychiatry, where people are using, ultra processed carb reduction for bipolar, all that kind of stuff. Hell, they're calling Alzheimer's diabetes 3.
Really?
It does affect the brain and the emotions. And, the level of addiction that I see on a daily basis. And, I don't know, what your demographic is, but 95% of our clients are women. And I think they've just suffered over the years with, weight and weight gain and dieting and like that. And they finally narrowed it down to sugar as their Achilles heel. And they just can't, quit. A third of people biochemically cannot ingest sugar without setting up cravings for more sugar. And if that's not the definition of addiction, I'm not sure what is.
Yeah. I feel like society has done women such an injustice with like body image. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I feel like that plays a big part, especially for women, in caring so much about their physical appearance. I feel like society has done them such an injustice in that sense.
It's hard, really. And, and they are displaying that, or, it's a real big part of the problem. Most people originally come to me for weight loss. That's their goal. And, they've always said that they're all brainwashed by the diet industry: eat less and exercise more. But when you apply the addiction paradigm to it, and I told you guys when we had our pre-interview, it takes about the arc of a podcast for people to understand exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, the statistics are pretty clear. 95% of all people who lose any amount of weight gain it all back in the first year, and then some. They add some, So the possibility of getting healthy, weight loss, correcting prediabetes or fatty liver or whatever, and putting it all in remission is really difficult, because people are not connecting the idea. Like, it's a very common construct in the world of alcohol and drugs that if you started using alcohol and drugs at 14 or 15, you stop growing emotionally. It's just a well-known principle in treatment centers and meetings and what have you. But when you extrapolate that backwards to 4 or 5 years old, probably in the womb, but the small body getting that big dopamine hit. I mean, we've all seen it at the birthday party of 5 and 6-year-olds
Oh
where
yeah.
they're hiding behind their mother's leg. And then all of a sudden, when the cake and ice cream comes out, the whole room erupts. It's like an energy goes up about 50 points. And
They're like
everybody,
gremlins, man.
Oh yeah.
they're just going.
Yeah.
And you think, then again, you move this forward, and then you get to be your early teens, you're just fighting off withdrawals. Forget about getting to be an adult. Most adults have never gone even 2 full days without sugar or flour or caffeine or nicotine. And when they stop, I mean, we've done 20,000 plus detoxes. At this juncture, it's like pattern recognition for us. You can just see it, you can see at day 5, it's tough physically. At day 15, it's tough emotionally and mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to get yourself some abstinence just to see where you stand. So it's harder than people think, and it's not as intuitive as people think. One of the things I think I mentioned to you guys is that because I've been open about my alcohol and drug addiction, I seem to attract recovering folks, which is fine. Problem is they are like 5 years, 10 years sober, and they can't quit down the sugar. And to a man, to a woman, every single one of them has said it was what has been and was harder when they finally quit sugar than it was their drug of choice. And I know that's a bold statement, but I can introduce you to hundreds of people that have said it,
Well,
I would
I
stand
believe
by
that.
that statement. Yeah.
100%. Well, you're starting as a child. Like, even like we're conditioned to, like, if your kid wants juice, like a baby, you put water in it, right? You mix it. So like even there, right? Like even just some of the baby foods, it's gonna have some sugar in it. So
Oh, yeah.
you're starting from like the day almost that you're born.
Yeah, I mean, the formulas are, if you just read it, it's corn syrup and it's awful stuff.
Yeah.
It's
And
just,
also, what you're asking to do, like, essentially is like, don't get me wrong, like, I try to be mindful of what I put in my body in terms of food and drinks. But now you're asking me to go out of my way and inspect everything, like, just speaking honestly, right? Like, that's
yeah.
from a perspective of as a recovering drug addict. Now you're asking me to check the labels, see what's actually in it, and if there's something in it that I can't have, you're asking me to just not have it when it's at 15 different stores that I go to, where
Yeah.
I had to go to one guy to get exactly what I wanted when I was in active addiction, right? So I can completely understand how it would be harder to put it down, because this is just an assumption on my end, but I have a very strong feeling there's a lot of sugar and flour and things that I wouldn't anticipate there being a lot of sugar and flour in that I would have in my daily diet.
85% of the bags, boxes, and cans in the middle of the grocery store has sugar. It's just, it's what you mentioned earlier, the societal piece of the puzzle is hard because, you can put the plug in the jug, you cannot go to the bar, you cannot buy the alcohol, you not go to the drug man, but you got to eat 3 times a day, and you have to be in a society that hasn't quite caught up with, I akin it a lot to the when the science was, I mean, a lot of people knew before the science said, sugar or cigarettes cause cancer, right? Doctors advertise on. You've heard all these stories, but you can't imagine it being true, but it was true. And a lot of people hated the smell of it, whatever, but still 43% of the adult population smoked cigarettes. And now it's less than 14. And that happened because the science said this is going to kill you. And we are at that turning point with the sugar. And the same thing applies. It's, matter of fact, I kind of akin the withdrawals to nicotine. It's not alcohol or opioid withdrawals, but it is nasty and it's a pain in the butt. And it's, it's a habit that you picked up and, you just never fixed. And most people have never seen, my only job, I said before many times, is that my only job is to get people to see 90 days of abstinence. Just see, it's not my job to tell them they're an addict. They have to make that assertion, it's themselves, So, but if they get 90, then they maybe get a chance.
So what would you say is like the biggest problem? Would you say it mostly coffee in people, or would you say you're just your daily foods, or is there one specific thing that's just like the worst that people are taking that they should stay away from?
It's drinking the soda, drinking the sugar is a major problem, which most people can't drink 5 Sprites a day, but they can drink 5 Pepsis a day. You know what I mean? And that's that connection to the caffeine, right?
Okay.
Or their coffee or what have you. So drinking it is definitely a problem. I mean, it's all a problem. I mean, it's all difficult to quit. It's, the physical part, the emotional part is difficult. We as a society have literally outsourced our emotional management system to a substance. Again, a common construct in alcohol and drug recovery, but not so well known or understood in the sugar for food space. So
I saw a video today, and it's kind of relating to what you said earlier about the science, like just not being there. I saw a video, and it was about smoking versus vaping, and how when smoking came out, like it was a big thing, and they were saying doctors were telling you to do it if you had a headache or if you were hungry or whatever, because there was no science to back the evidence that it was bad for you. And then after about 50 years, they had enough evidence to be like, yeah, smoking's going to friggin' kill you. So same thing with vaping. They're like, vaping is still extremely very young. So people are like, well, it's not that bad because there's not enough evidence to prove that it's going to kill you. Even though there is evidence of it, it's just there's not enough of it for the doctors and the professionals to be like, hey, like, you want the answers, here's the answer. So is it the same kind of thing with sugar, even though sugar's been around a long time?
I don't know if you guys know the history, but in the 1980s, when the litigation of the states was going against the tobacco companies, they saw the hand lighting on the wall, and they started buying up the food companies. Nabisco, General Mills, they bought them all, literally. And they used their addiction model, where now they slide people into MRIs, put the new product on the tongue, and watch the brain light up. That's just criminal. It's literally criminal. They're seeing the reaction, so they're using the addictive playbook. And yes, the answer to your question is the cigarettes what they're doing is they're able to say it's personal responsibility. It's personal responsibility, and we're not, in charge of what people do with their bodies. We just provide the product. I'm sure you've seen, I don't know if you have it, but you can Google it probably. But there's a picture in the halls of Congress where there's 7 or 8 of the CEOs of the cigarette companies with their hand raised, swearing that nicotine is not addictive. And, they had hearings and everything. And they're starting those types of hearings now with the ultra processed carbohydrates and the bad food system, but it's still in its infancy. And so, yeah, I mean, it's really the lack of information for the general public. One of the reasons I think cigarette reduction was so successful is that the lawsuits against the states lawsuits against the tobacco company, was literally like $1 trillion advertising campaign. For a decade, every morning you would wake up to a new news story about this, about nicotine or, cigarettes being bad. And then they would put the labels on the thing. But that took a really long time. And I don't think the kids see even that in the early days, never pretty much was it available for children to have. And this is where I think the big problem lies.
Well, I remember when I was younger, my mom used to write on a piece of paper, and I could go to the store with that note that my mom wrote to buy a pack of smokes for her.
Right.
But you know what? I was never tempted. Until I was, my, I don't know, late teens, I would say.
Yeah.
That's when I got into it. It was dirty, but I'm 7 weeks maybe now? 7 weeks clean. I quit. So I
Yeah.
just cold turkeyed it. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
but you
far
don't
more
need that
willpower than I do.
to get the candy, right? And kids figure that out very quickly, or they
Mhm.
figure out how to get it from around the house.
Mhm.
Hell, we used to put we could put it on our Cheerios or our cornflakes. We were scraping off a half an inch at the bottom of the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
We would make the Kool-Aid. My mom was happy with us making Kool-Aid because she didn't have to do it. But we,
Mhm.
instead of 1 cup, we were putting 2 or 3 cups in there. Sugar.
Yep. Hell yeah.
Kids get
Yeah.
it, and it's again, if you go backwards, you don't realize, like when you hit beer at 14 or 15, you know that you're changing your state or drug.
Mhm.
You realize that I could drink behind this high school and I was kind of shy and I could talk to girls at the dance, but I didn't realize that I was soothing myself with the sugar. And if you talk to someone who's had a success, like someone's lost 100 pounds, not necessarily a weight thing, has had a success quitting sugar for health reasons or weight reasons, they don't talk about what they ate. They don't talk about that. They talk about this emotional work that they had to do
Mhm.
to relearn how to soothe themselves. And they had to learn how to walk walk again, basically. They had to, put a new practice in place, whether that's exercise or yoga or walking or running or getting a hug or getting a manicure, a pedicure, a massage, something that would soothe them, that would create what we call effort-based dopamine. And when I say dopamine, I mean dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, GABA, oxytocin, adrenal glands, endorphins, cannabinoid receptors. Every brain and body reward chemical is affected by sugar. And we just don't have the diagnostic tools yet to prove like the cigarettes cause cancer, or prove that. We're pretty sure, not pretty sure, we know that it causes fatty liver, it causes type 2 diabetes, it causes, and even there they have to hedge, have to say, well, we're pretty sure it causes type 2 diabetes, but they can't say for sure. Hell, when I was younger, they used to call type 2 diabetes sugar. That was the name of the disease. I got,
Really?
So yeah, it's in its early stages, but I think the awareness is building. I hope.
And I also feel like, from your perspective, it's kind of like a David versus Goliath type of situation, right?
Oh yeah.
Because you're fighting against every food brand, every major food brand, every major drink brand,
Right.
to kind of combat the thing that they feed off of, right?
Yeah. No, it's true. And it is a David and Goliath thing. And, you often wonder how far they'll go. They've paid off scientists. They found the evidence in closed sugar factories and stuff where they had different councils, and they paid off Harvard professors to do this, and they put the blame on the fat. For the last 40 years, they've said, it's the fat that's causing the weight gain, when in reality, it's not the fat, it's the sugar. It's the sugar and the ultra processed carbs, the breads and the pastas and whatever. So I don't have any gripe with the producers of these products. They had shareholder value to worry about. That was their job. But now it's pretty evident, scientifically evident, that this is what's causing it. I've never really been a policy down kind of pass laws and whatever. It's always grassroots up, where, if you can turn the tide and get enough people understanding it. Like you guys are old enough to remember that you could smoke, and when I was young, you could smoke on an airplane. And
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
bus. And now the poor smokers are relegated to outside of the office building. There's like
Yep.
like they're like
It's a square.
look down upon it.
Yep.
Some places here, like Canada's Wonderland in Toronto, you can't even smoke in the park. So,
Right.
and there's no re-entry. So if you're in there for the day, you're not smoking anywhere. You can't. They don't have smoking areas anymore.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember even in restaurants, you'd be eating, and people would be smoking around, even in the restaurants back in the day. It was crazy.
Smoking section. Remember
Yeah,
that?
exactly. Definitely.
I
You want a
remember
smoking room or not?
ashtrays. I remember ashtrays in the shopping carts at the mall.
What about this? Ashtrays at McDonald's, man. In
Yeah.
the McDonald's. They got McDonald's ashtrays. It was
Yep.
yeah, crazy.
I mean, 50 years from now, literally, they're going to say, they used to give sugar to kids, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because we'll have the diagnostic tools. It will, I often thought in the early days that it might be illegal because, we've discovered so much science about it. But really, I think what's going to happen is it's going to be like alcohol. It's going to be an adult treat. And you can probably still give it to your children, but no, I don't want to say woke, but no educated parent would do that, because they understand the ramifications of it any early in pregnancy and in the early life. So it's a weird kind of transitionary period, but the science is very clear. It's no longer an issue in my view. It's just that the reason I do all these podcasts is because the general public hasn't really caught up with the science unless you're buried in it.
Well, and like Anthony was saying before, like it's a mental battle. It really is, because everywhere you go,
Right.
it's there. You go to the mall shopping, you go to the gas station, you're at the restaurant, someone's drinking pop, everywhere you go. So the mentality though too that you fight it. Oh man, it must get exhausting though sometimes too to fight that battle, because it's a huge battle. And like you said, like it's from the beginning. So like when you were born pretty much, as an infant, and all through your life you're having sugar, and that is a battle. Like it's processing through my head right now. It's crazy.
It's like any addiction. It's that free rent that it gets in your head. Like mostly, again, people come to me for weight loss originally, but I have to literally sneak them into the back door of understanding that they're in a recovery program of sorts, codependency recovery program. They've got to learn to say no. They've got to learn to set boundaries. They've got to learn to stick up for themselves. And, and that's like most of our folks are people pleasers in general, but they didn't, it's like, it's not anyone's fault. And that's if we can relieve people of that, And I believe this in alcohol and drug addiction. I joined the Recover Out Loud movement because it's a health issue. It's a health care issue, not a moral judgment of any kind. What people struggle with weight and stuff is the shame of the people. People are hard, especially kids. Like if you're an overweight kid, man, it's a tough go if you're 4, 5, 6 and overweight your whole as a young kid. Kids don't mean to be mean, but most kids haven't started gaining a lot of weight even though they're eating a lot of sugar. So when you're the overweight kid, you get a lot of abuse, basically ribbing, and just hurts the self-esteem. And then it's the same as an adult. People don't want to go out, they don't want to go dress shopping, they're just shameful. And we all know what shame does to any addict. It's not a good place to be in. And when it's constant in society, I mean, there's definitely a prejudice to people in larger sized bodies. And look, I'm going to tell you, you can be a very thin sugar addict. It's not necessarily that, but it is a good indicator. I don't forget the number, but like 75 or 72% of obese people are sugar addicts, or sugar and flour addicts.
Man, I've met large crackheads before, so you can't drugs and alcohol, any substance, they don't discriminate, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the diabetes, that's when that comes in hand, like you spoke before, and then especially being overweight, they're just asking for major health problems and ongoing.
I mean, I think the number is 68% of people, or some crazy number of people are pre-diabetic, don't even know it. The metabolic health, which I was talking about, the metabolic psychiatry and metabolic health, only 8% of the whole population is metabolically healthy. And we don't know it because it's very silent killer. Your A1C is high. You're slowly getting pre-diabetes and then diabetes. And people are always shocked, like, I'm pre-diabetic? I'm type 2 diabetic, They're shocked. But again, and we're here, hopefully, and you guys, I know I've listened to your stuff, and we're here for transformation. We're here for people to change their behavior. And the difficulty in changing the behavior is, like I said, the emotional hook, the emotional capture, if you will, that we have we're using sugar as our self-soothing methods. We've learned to hack 100,000 years of evolution by sitting on the couch. We don't have to chase sex. We don't have to chase food. These reward systems were built in for this, that we got these easy, cheap calories in fruit or honey. Like, we don't get that anymore. We have a drip 24/7. You know, we're not.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really good, actually.
So, Mike, why don't you walk us through like the first 90 days that you talk about? Like, what does it look like through those 90 days and like the stages of the withdrawal from the sugar and how you deal with someone going through that process?
Sure. So basically, you know, from the amount of detoxes we've done, you know, I've had to redo my sugar challenge, which is 30 days. I come into your inbox and you watch a video between 10 and 20 minutes. I can pretty much tell by what day you're on where you're going to be. If you kind of follow all our instructions and try and, as I said before, and I'll keep saying it, is like my only job is to get you to 90 days of complete abstinence just to see. It's not my job to tell you're an addict. If you decide at 90 days after you've tried this, I mean, I'm speaking to your clients, your listeners. It's like you've tried everything else, especially if it's just weight loss. Again, if it's other health issues, that's too. That we've tried everything else, but at about day 5, if you get 100% abstinence, and in my program it's caffeine too, and I can speak to that if you'd like. But you know, if you can do those 3 things, sugar, flour, and caffeine, in about the 5th day, with any habit at all, you're going to be near incapacitated. Work is not going to be fun at all. You're going to be tired, you're starving, lethargic, you're going to have headaches, you're going to be irritable, you want to kick the dog. You know, you're going to be actually depressed. The scientific term is your dopamine receptors are going to be downregulated. They're thinned out. You have less of them. Your brain, literally, it shrinks your brain. Okay, it puts holes in your brain if you put someone in an MRI. Okay, and so when you stop, you know, days 5, 0 to 10, it's just, like I said, nicotine withdrawal-ish. It's tough. And you got to have a little bit of muscle and through it. And you got to have in place, a place to walk or a gym to go to, so that we don't use exercise to burn calories. We use exercise for mental wellness. There's not a lot of proven fact that you regenerate those dopamine receptors, but the plasticity lasts till you die, and you can groove a new neural pathway of self-soothing that doesn't include sugar or any substance. And so, and then days 10 to 20, you know, usually right around 15, it's like, Mike, I'm losing my mind. And what happens is your body, I don't know if you guys heard this book, you know, The Body Keeps the Score. It's almost like a cult following. It's got like 62,000 reviews on Amazon. And there's a lot of books that have come from it, and they all, you know, praise this guy, Bessel van der Kolk. And what happens is everything that you've stuffed down, right? Every emotion that you didn't feel by numbing out with sugar is beginning to come up. It's beginning to bubble up. Okay. And it's for your daily stresses. You don't have your go-to, whatever it is, right? And so here you are naked to your emotional life to live your real emotional life between days 10. Now, this can last for a long time, but you know, it's very at its peak between days 10 and 20, right? And then it kind of calms down a little bit between 20 and 30 physically. Physically, the noise is not as loud. The cravings are not as loud because you're moving away from it. But it also gives you this kind of pink cloudish kind of thing where you're like, now I can, you know, I'm feeling pretty good physically. I can, you know, have a little whatever. And so that's like the first thing. And we kind of walk you through that. And then the real work begins. The real work, days 25 or 30 to day 90, is you've got to lay in place these new practices where you're self-soothing in a different way. And look, this is only, as I said, pattern recognition. This is only experience. This is only lots of times doing this. If you don't believe me, try me. Just try it for 10 days and tell me where you're at day 15. Okay. And everybody's a little different. I get the occasional person who just soars right through it. A lot of times athletes do okay because they have a practice in place and they can just ramp up their workouts a little, and work out every day instead of every other day. And they do fine. I got a coach that's an ultra marathoner, and it was not easy for her, but she got through it pretty quickly. So, but yeah, I mean, and again, the important part of that is that the practice of physical exercise or physical motion is not for weight loss or quote unquote burning calories. It's for mental wellness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you get through that, the most important thing is peer support. You got to have another tribe. 80% of the people we work with do not have spousal support. Like their husband is not even on board, right? Their kids are not on board. They're like, the clients changed the diet around the house 10 times and now she's not going to do it again, right? So, or the family's not going to do it again. So again, the work I always love this phrase. I forget it again. It's treatment is discovery and meetings are recovery. And in that, if you use that analogy with sugar, the detox is the discovery. You can start to discover your physicality and your emotional life and how bad you're addicted to it. And then you begin the process of hanging out with people who want to make this a lifestyle. The problem with sugar and its availability, and if you're not have a support system, is that, and this is folklore, literal scientific folklore, 95% of all people lose any amount of weight, gain it all back in the first year, and then some. They add some. Mm-hmm. And that's easy to explain with the conversation that we've been having, in that, every diet book on the planet says restrict the white stuff. Okay, so they restrict the white stuff. Life's okay. Finances, relationships, job, kids, everybody's okay. 2 months in, you're down 20. And you don't think like I need a beer or something, or like I need a beer at Friday at happy hour because I've had a rough week. You understand what you're doing. You understand what you're, why you're going to use this substance to numb a little bit. But with the sugar, it more manifests like, I'm at my sister's wedding. I've lost 20 pounds. I feel like I should be able to have the cake, or I just have a craving for a chocolate bar or whatever. And then you're just like any drug. One is too many, 1,000 never enough. You're off to the races. If I heard that story once, I heard it 1,000 times. People lose their weight or they get off the sugar. They feel better. Their brain clears up. Their skin clears up. Things go. And then one little plan slip, whatever you want to call it, and they disappear from the program for, 3 or 4 months, and they come back and they gained all their weight back. So again, just nuances that we've seen over and over and over again. Nobody's any different. I like the phrase, recovery stuff is like, there's a lot of people that are too smart to recover. There's nobody too dumb to recover. You just have to go through it. And, I've been getting really strong on this, guys, and I'm the furthest thing from tough love. And I can prove this because when someone comes to me, if they make it to sugaraddiction.com, they've made a decision, right? Or if they watch the summit, they made a decision. They've said something like, I have an issue, right? And those folks are not mentally capable of making the right decision they need to make for their health or their weight. And this is how I know this, how I can prove this. Hundreds of people have had the conversation with me after they're 6 months or a year in and they've lost weight and they've put type 2 in remission, or they lost 100 pounds, or they've cured fatty liver, or whatever it is that they were after. And they say to me, Mike, I can't believe I would go out in a snowstorm and get ice cream. I can't believe that I would throw stuff in the garbage and then pour dishwashing liquid over it and then cut the dishwashing liquid off an hour later and eat it out of the garbage. Like, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, I'm a therapist. I can't believe that my brain thought this was a good idea, that this was, kind of like a drug addict shooting himself with a needle, right? You're like, I can't believe that my brain was able to do that, right? But you remember, you're hacking 100,000-year-old system that was created to seek food and sex. So it's not that unusual. It's just that people don't apply it to sugar. They're disgusted with addicts. They're disgusted with the guy behind the, under the bridge with the brown paper bag, but they don't think of it as sugar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because you can give this to a baby, right? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's going to be mad at you. And so that's like where we talked about before. We're in this weird place where the science is caught up, but the general public is not.
So when people go through your programs, I'm curious to say, like, I was wondering when you're talking about this, like foods. So now I'm thinking in my head, like, what foods
What can
can
I?
I eat? You know what I mean? And what do I have to cut out and everything like that?
I was
Like,
thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh
yeah.
shit, what am I eating, man?
So do you have like a program you guys have read out or like menus that for people to cook and stuff?
Yeah, no, it's one of the questions. It's like, what can I eat?
Yeah.
And the answer is the outside of the grocery store, like seafood, meats, vegetable, dairy, fruit, whole food. You can eat real food. That's it. Bags, boxes, cans, takeout, that's off the table for now. During the 90-day reset, there's
Mm-hmm.
plenty of wonderful food to eat,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not going to be eating pasta or rice or things in a can or bean. You're not going to be eating these things. Now, there's kind of a debate or worry of vegetarians have a little bit tougher time because a lot of their stuff is processed in some way,
Mm-hmm.
Super
shape, or form.
processed, yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be an issue sometimes. Now, I've had a vegetarian. My first coach was a vegetarian. Like, I've had vegetarians have success, but it's not as easy. It's hard to get the calories in you need, and it's hard to get the healing properties of fat and myelination in the brain. And you really do need the biochemical repair of the brain, and that's hard to get on a vegetarian or vegan diet.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like you're not eating any dairy, you're not eating any fish or any meat or whatever. So
Yeah.
that's kind of hard. And I don't know how I say this, but I've kind of come full circle. I never wanted to name a diet. Never wanted to name the food because I thought because I was a vegetarian for many years and I think I did a lot of damage, but I didn't eat flour, sugar, or caffeine.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a lot of other things, and I can go into it if you want. But just a basic keto, paleo, Mediterranean diet would be fine for the recovery.
Crazy.
So,
Yeah, I was wondering, it's like, what do I eat?
so just out of curiosity, like just as a simple suggestion for people listening, like say, I'm trying to think of an example, like someone who's a snacker, like what would you suggest as like an alternative to like a bag of chips or, like someone who's driving to get a chocolate bar late at night or walking in a friggin' snowstorm to get ice cream? Like what would you suggest as like an alternative, like a quick, easy alternative to that type of thing?
Yeah, I mean, we try and eat the 3 squares a day, and not snack. Snacking is, I like this phrase, snacking is an emotional event, not a nutrition event, right? It's not an event that you're trying to ingest nutrition to fuel your body and your brain. It's an emotional event, which squares with the discussion that we've been having in this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sit down with the TV and eat the popcorn or eat the chips or what have you. And recently, I kind of adopted from one of my contemporaries an idea that I like actually, and it's been very helpful to people. Is you've got to leave out smooth and crunchy for now. You can't eat the ice cream or the chips. You've got to leave the cookies. You got to leave that out for now. Now, look, I mean, one of the things that's been difficult in getting people, I used to say, and I still do, is like I have to sneak people in thinking they're on a diet or whatever before I tell them that they're on a recovery program of sorts, And it's hard because people don't want to do that. They want to know what I eat and what's my exercise plan. It's been a messaging thing during this time of transition where we're getting this message out. People are not ready for the I stopped sugarcoating, and I will think of a new way to say that.
It's awesome.
What I've been telling you guys And what I'm telling all addicts is the straight story. And if you don't want to hear it, no offense, but I don't have time to be explaining it anymore. I created the challenge because I couldn't answer all the questions over and over and again in the early days. And people sort themselves before they want to go long term with us. People drop out. They're not ready. It's not their time or whatever. And they come back a lot. They like, I have got a flood. We are right here at the first of the year, flood of people like, Mike, do I still have access? Can I still, can I do the 30 days? So it's pretty wild, really. But yeah,
Well,
no,
do you get that a lot too? Like since like New Year's is in a couple days here, do
yeah.
you find that you fluctuate in like people wanting to quit?
Oh,
Um,
God.
yeah.
Yeah. It's weird, but it's maybe
And then they
culture.
just die off, kind of like how the people, I'm gonna start going to the gym, and then they go to the gym for a week, and then all of a sudden the gym's empty again.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the gym business where, it's like, this is our Christmas, like from December 26th to beginning of February, it's insanity, right? That's why we have this summit in January, because people are accustomed to their weight loss programs or their resolutions, and sugar and diet are like top of the list all the time, or weight loss and diet. And so we kind of make hay while the sun shines kind of thing. We meet people where they are at and what they want. And so, yes, I mean, that's definitely a kind of a cultural thing, I think. But you can start anytime. And I think you should start anytime. There's no, if you're
100%.
listening to this in the summertime, you can start tomorrow.
Yeah, it's nothing like a good day. It's like starting right now.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I hate to say it, and you probably can relate to, Mike. I see that a lot in like addiction, like in the rooms too. Like my meetings got pretty quiet right now, and I had this conversation with my sponsor the other day. Like, it's unfortunate. I know it's quiet right now, but give it 2 weeks, and you're going to see a lot more people in those rooms. They
It's
want one
folklore.
last hurrah.
In the 12 step, it's folklore. The amount of relapses between day 360 and day 365.
Yeah.
Like, people cannot see themselves in this new tribe permanently. Like, there's just, it's just a weird time, and the same thing at the beginning, like you said.
Yeah, I find every group has like phases. Like my group is this spring. Like we've got milestones from like the third week of March till the end of April. We have like 4 or 5 celebrations for annual milestones within that period with group members. I'm one of them. Mine's April 1st. Like, I don't know what it is. Just our group. It's like the springtime, and then we have a couple in the fall. So spring and fall at my group are like.
Well, if you guys are far as up north in Canada as you are, I get that. So.
Yeah, fair enough. Anyways, were you gonna say anything? Were you gonna say something, Eric?
It's okay. Don't worry.
No, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was, to be honest with you, I lost my train of thought because I was listening to you.
Sorry about that.
It'll pop. It's okay, man. It'll pop back.
So,
I remember. Actually,
okay, go ahead.
So, what is it like when you explain this to people about the sugar addiction? Because a lot of people, let's face it, like I never thought about this until really, I saw your email. It wasn't even a thing, when you explain it to people about like the sugar and the addiction, does like how it did to me, does like a light bulb pop in mostly their head, or most of the time are they aware of it?
That's a great question, and I'd have to say I don't know the percentage, but it's nowhere near high. Put it that way. It's if I can get it into the community, that works, because you see so many success stories of people who are exactly like you. It's just like any meeting of any kind, hell, even in cancer, it works. Like if you go join a cancer survivors group, and your chances go through the roof of long-term success compared to the person who goes it alone. So if I can get them to see that, then it works. As far as, the online stuff is a trust-based thing. We've got a couple coaches that are big in their church community, Christian community, right? They do very well, very quickly, because the trust is already there. But when it comes to diet and sugar, people are just, they've been hoodwinked so many times. They've tried so many different things that this to them is still categorized at some level as a diet, when it's really not a diet. I mean, I think it's an evolution of the understanding of these, all the diet books call it the white stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it's hard. I mean, people are. That's why I'm always talking the message up in this way. I used to. I guess I was going to say it again, but I used to obfuscate it a little bit with, kind of match it with diet. Yes, you'll lose weight, blah blah blah. But I stopped doing that because I attracted too many people that are not ready.
That
Mm-hmm.
weren't looking for what you were offering.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
People ask me, what's your business model? I say, I sort for people that are ready.
I like it.
Yeah, I can't.
Yep.
I can't. And I don't know. I mean, it's like, I can't make the judgment. People I thought will never make it are the best. They're not
Mm-hmm.
the right coaches. The people that I thought are not, they're the winners. They're like still out there somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm.
You can never tell.
So do you want to give us a little rundown of like what the summit looks like and some details on
Mm-hmm.
that's coming up?
Yeah, January the 6th, and we're remorseful a little bit. Sometime we should have it a little later, I think, to build it up a little bit. But January the 6th this year, for a full week, every day I've interviewed. It's like basically I did a podcast series for the whole year in a week. Okay, so every day we would put out 6 to 8 speakers that are all, it's recorded, it's online, it's free, and they're all experts. I was going to count them up, but of the 44, 45 speakers, I think like 31 of them are doctors or PhDs or something, and they've been studying the science. And about, I'd say 15 of them I have, or no, maybe not that many, 12 or 10 I bring back every year because they talk about they speak the same way I do about sugar being an addiction. And that they've worked, one of them owns a treatment, a couple of them own treatment centers, a couple of them, study it and certify people. And, they're just fully 100% on board because they've been doing it for 20 years, about sugar and addiction. Right. And they're of the same mind as I am in this thing. And which, for me, it is lonely because everybody thinks you're half nuts. Right. But the science now, I mentioned it earlier, but there's a couple people, really good people, as a matter of fact, that are talk about this metabolic psychiatry where, people with, I have one coach, she's recovering 4 years when she came around about 3 or 4 years ago, on bipolar meds, 60 pounds heavier. And, now she's got her own coaching practice. She studied with this woman from Harvard about the psychiatry stuff, the mental health stuff. She's off her bipolar meds and, teaching others how to get off them, And so it's impossible to watch this thing, just even, a couple speakers a day and not have an effect on, your sugar. I'm warning you, it'll ruin your sugar. It'll ruin the pleasure. It's like you can't unsee the information or unhear the information. But it really is, thousands of people. We've had over 1 million people watch it over the last 8 years. Thousands of people have written me to say that, this is where this was the turning point. They watched all these experts. It's the kind of thing I could tell you till I'm blue in the face, but when I'm interviewing all these different people with all these different degrees and all come at it with a little bit of a different angle, and have different life experiences, and I would say 80-90% of them have their own story. That's how they got into it. So they tell their story of recovery and change, and then they talk about the science too. So yeah, it's been a labor of love. It's really been a big deal in the industry, if you will. We're kind of the meeting place for the folks that are not, listened to yet. It's not public knowledge, it's the scientific part of it,
You know what, Mike? I have to say, man, I think what you're doing is amazing. You've opened my eyes. And I mean, we have listeners all over the world, and you're going to open up their eyes, So, I mean, blew me away. and now I'm gonna be very cautious of. I'm gonna be looking at the labels now. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I will be. And actually, I would love to check out your summit. Definitely. I'd love to be a part of that too, because I'm very well, curious, to be honest with you.
You'll enjoy it. You really will. I mean,
Yeah.
we try. It's not boring. You know, we're the folks like your podcast. I mean, you try and get the story from the person. You know, how would anyone get into this crazy?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how would they? Why would they want to? And they're all. You know, I've got a woman that lost 100 pounds or 120 pounds, 130 pounds.
Wow.
Now
Good for her.
she teaches. You know, she's a
Wow.
coach and everything.
Good
There's
for
just
her.
all kinds of people. You know.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job, man. I checked out your socials, and we will post them. I'll post them in
Yeah.
our description, so you guys will be able to see that. But I mean, honestly, I'm proud of you. You know what you're doing, and you said, like he said, it's like David and Goliath. You
Yeah.
know, it's a battle. You're going up against these major corporations, and some of them pretty much own the world. Let's face it, right? You know what I mean? So, I mean, you got to battle, but far as you know, we're behind you. We got your back, no matter what. So
Well,
we appreciate that.
one of my lead guys, he actually does the blurb at the beginning where you give your email.
Mhm.
Robert Lustig is probably the de facto leader of this. He's an endocrinologist, professor emeritus, and he's just famous all over the world. Everybody asks him to speak, and he's written 3 books and everything. And I asked him, when I was, Rob, aren't you afraid of these guys, these big corporations? He goes, no, Mike, I got the science. Like they haven't bothered this guy. He had a little video, it's like 11, 12 years ago, go viral. It's a boring college lecture of 90 minutes about fructose. And no one can still to this day understand why it went viral. But it's at like 22 million views now. But, you know, people, it's interesting in the keto world or some of these carnivore world or even the vegetarians, I've interviewed a lot of them. Everybody agrees on the ultra processed carbs and sugar for health and weight. But very few people, a few of the people that are on the summit are thinking about it. That's why I go on recovery podcasts, are thinking about it in an addiction way, in a way where that the transformation more models a drug and alcohol recovery than it does a weight loss or health program of sorts,
Mhm.
So yeah, it's a little twist, and it's same Dr. Lustig, who's also on the summit this year again. He believes it's a 30-year deal. It's like all the other people have to die. He said they all have to die before the new ideas come to the fore.
Mhm.
So
It's a stark way of looking at it, but it totally makes sense. Like,
yeah.
do you want to throw your socials, like where people can find you or where they can get more information? Like Eric said, we'll leave it in the description when the episode comes out, but did you just want to voice those, like anything specific?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's quitsugarsummit.com. Just leave your email and we'll send you the schedule of, the people you can watch and every day for a week. If you can take a little time off, you probably can after this holiday season where it's Wednesday for 2 days. But anyway, you can watch it at your leisure. It goes from midnight to midnight. Sugaraddiction.com. I'm on the social medias everywhere right there. Sugar Free Man. Just put Sugar Free Man. Just Google Mike Collins Sugar. You'll find me. I'm up lots of places. So.
And how long have you been doing this for? Sorry, you would say?
I opened sugaraddiction.com in 2009. And I didn't really, my kids always said I should write a book, obviously, because they had a really strange childhood because they grew up without sugar. And they said, so in 2018, it did okay. And that's really when I was kind of semi-retired. I started coaching online. And I was ready. Okay. I had some coaches. I was doing coaching myself. And then the pandemic hit. Okay. 2020, you guys remember?
Mm-hmm.
Brought out all the sugar, the flour, the cookies, the ice cream, the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Like the supply chains just melted down because everybody's at home eating comfort food, right?
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, or as importantly, is that they even Granny, everybody knew how to use Zoom, right? Everybody had to use Zoom to communicate. And so all hell broke loose, and we haven't taken a breath since,
That's
in
awesome.
2020, where, those two things combined, the pandemic and people at home and Zoom. And a lot of people, very few people took it as an opportunity to get healthy, whereas most people were doing what we've described in this podcast, is that they were soothing that fear, that worry, that anxiety, that financial worry, all of those things ramped up as opposed to, calm down a little bit. And then they just said, it's only been 4 months and I've gained 40 pounds or 20 pounds. It's like they started looking for help, and it just, again, hasn't slowed down. We recently got approved by the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaches, first group ever, sugar, but definitely the first addiction group, right? And
Good
so,
for you guys.
yeah, that's like been a feather in our cap that we've been working at for a long time. And so that's been it's helped. We have a certification process where people can become coaches and whatever. But yeah, we haven't taken a breath since the pandemic.
So I guess you could say COVID was amazing for you guys then.
It really was. It changed my lifestyle one bit, because I work online anyway. But
COVID was amazing for me, man. I got sober in 2021. I got sober on Zoom. I did everything over the computer. I did all my 12 steps over the computer, meetings over the computer. So same, man.
Yeah, no, and it's the scientific term is mirror neurons. Like, we like to, we can literally sync with other people in our tribe, and it works almost as well on Zoom as it does in person. Not quite, but and a lot of science behind that now too.
Do you mean like when, like, say for example, you got a wife and you're with her every day and you pick up her traits? Is that what you mean by mirror? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
yeah.
there's a lot of science about, at first it was just kind of a meme for the personal development world, where you become the average of the 5 people you hang around with most. But now there's a lot of very clear science that you become the average weight of the 5 people you hang around.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's all these little squares on the Zoom. I mean, I get to see people's face change before my very eyes. So one of the things for your people who are, I think people that listen to recovery podcasts in general, like my advanced group where I facilitate a couple meetings, where they're not beginners anymore. They're seekers, they want to get better and become better human beings, right? And those people are, they're the best people in the world to hang around. And what I was going to tell them is that, yes, you might come here for weight loss. Yes, you might hear, you got a diabetes 2 thing. And I've had a lot of remissions from type 2 and lost 100 pounds and whatever, fatty liver. But the number one thing when we do surveys is that the folks benefit. We ask what's the best benefit. Even if they've lost 100 pounds or put type 2 in remission, is that their brain came back online. They focus better. They remember better. Their anxiety is lessened, right? And this, I didn't think it, this was before the science, now the metabolic psychiatry stuff came out, or started to get popular. It's been around a little bit, but now it's popular, getting popular. So I was kind of blown away with that. And I think, the way that you guys speak, the reason you got that, I don't know if you said it on air before we came on, where you got that little nasty gram from the guy.
Yeah.
I think that the people that you're attracting are attracted to your style, where your vulnerability, your authenticity, and your level of trust is high. And I think if the folks can add to that the intellectual nature of your just a couple of regular guys working and helping other people get sober, I mean, I think that your audience will understand this point of view that I'm proffering here, So keep up the great work. I'm impressed with what you guys have created, and
thank you.
I'm wanting to create a community of folks. I was talking to Anthony earlier while you're working on the thing. I'm trying to create I want to eventually create a community of what I'm calling recoverypreneurs, where people are, making their message, if you will. And they're getting out there and helping people. And it runs the gamut from treatment centers to Instagram accounts. And and I think you guys are on a good path. So keep it up.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
All it is for me is I did a lot of stupid shit in my life, right? And that's where I've learned this and not to do it,
Right.
and I'm just trying to pass that on and say, you're not alone, like shit happens. This world sucks. But at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you can make it as great as you want to. It's just all up in here and the fight.
Right.
That's the hardest fight, right? Is yourself. The hardest fight you'll ever fight in your life is yourself.
And make it easier by getting with other people that are doing it, because doing it alone does not work. Whether it's sugar or alcohol, doesn't work. Period. End of story. Doesn't work. So many people they come to me so freaking educated about, I did an entire webinar on what I call information dopamine, like I couldn't believe it. Like I said, why are these people? They know macros, they know this, they know exercise, that, but they can't quit sugar. They just can't get off. The same with alcohol, same thing. They're so educated. Then so I Googled, and this is interesting, information gathering and dopamine, and the freaking like search engine lit up with hundreds of studies of we're actually ping-ponging back and forth between information gathering and whatever our drug of choice is, right? Dopamine here, dopamine there. And we're not actually doing anything, right? We're gathering information. So we've got to actually, try abstinence, join a group, whatever. But you can't think your way out of this. You can't gather your information your way out of this thing.
Yeah. Or like my daughter would be try to con her way out of it.
Right, exactly. We all know that addicts are really good at conning themselves. That's our worst. We're really bad at like deluding ourselves. One of the things besides cravings that I study the most is denial. It's like, how does denial work? It's very obvious to the outside world and probably to yourself that you have a problem of whatever it is, but you're still able to rationalize and not take action, that just one more day, or, it's not that bad kind of thing. Like, how does the limbic brain's desire or need for dopamine translate that message into I go out in the snowstorm for sugar or for ice cream? You know what I mean? How does that happen?
In the freezing cold.
How does that happen?
To get frozen cream.
Right. I'm shooting heroin, or I'm smoking on a crack pipe when I've got advanced degrees and a beautiful family, So yeah, it's been a 40-year obsession. February 15th, I will be 40 years sober, and
amazing.
yes,
for you, man.
yes,
for you.
there was a woman involved where I was feeling sorry for myself on Valentine's Day, and finally stopped the next day. Anyway, you guys are doing a great work. You guys, however it takes and however long it takes, the building of a personal brand is the future of business, of life, really. And so just keep putting yourself out there in the way that you're doing it, because
Thank you.
really impressed.
We're just trying to build a legacy, man. You know what? We're trying to build a community and just to save lives at the end of the day. That's what we want to do. I've lost too many friends.
Yeah.
Too many friends. I lost my fiance. It's just, that's what we're trying to do. We want to save lives and show that, you're not alone, and we're here for the support.
Years ago, I heard Tony Robbins say, the first time somebody walks up to you, and that was back before almost before the internet, and he said, and says, "You changed my life," that's worth more than money. And I'm
100%.
like, get the hell out of here, Tony. You're already a multi. That's what I thought 25 years, 20 when I heard it. I thought he was crazy until it started happening to me. Like you guys told me that it's happened to you.
Oh yeah.
Then you really get it. You really understand. Like, even if one person gets it, then you've done your job.
It's purpose, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It validates you as a person, and that you have a purpose, especially when it's towards something positive. I find, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, we don't do this for money. We don't get paid for this. We do this to pay it forward. You know, this is what we do because we just want to help people.
Well, I'd be a lot richer and I'd have a bigger retirement if the first 6 or 8 years of this was,
Mm-hmm.
it was a big profit center.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough. I think Anthony has a question.
Yeah.
Yes. So at the end of every episode, I always ask our guests, what's your message to the world in one sentence?
Oh my goodness gracious. Let me see. What's my message to the world? I've heard these things and I've been asked it, but I don't have a good one. I would say, you're killing me. I'll come with. I should have this, but
There's a reason we don't warn you beforehand that I ask this question.
I can tell. That's good. I think people have to have the courage to just be themselves. It took me too long to do it. I feel way too long to do it in my life. I think just, play the cards you're dealt and live your life and have the courage to do whatever it is that's in your brain. If it's art, if it's recovery, business, career, motherhood, whatever it is, do it without looking back.
I think that's probably the most honest answer I think we've gotten so far.
It's a good goddamn answer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was a great answer. Great answer.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mike,
I still waffle on courage, I guess.
Yeah.
The teaching what you need to learn.
I mean, sometimes, man, it's I'll tell you, I hated going on camera. I didn't like pictures. I didn't all this. Joey, the former co-host, he would bug, we got to do it. We got to go on TikTok. We got to do it. And it took months about him like trying to tell me like the first, I think 4 episodes we didn't go. But I mean, he was telling me for months, you got to do it, and it's hard. That courage, you got to build that shit up to make it happen. Definitely, man. And it's true. It's what you say.
Well, you can Google this. I'm an INFJ, which is introverted. Less than 1% of the population and less than 10% of that are male INFJs. Introverted, I forget what the rest of it means.
INFJ.
INFJ. And it's one of those Myers-Briggs things. It's a personality test. So it's doubly hard, has been doubly hard for what you just described, for me to just get on camera and talk about whatever this is. So, but it's
you're doing a great job, man.
Yeah.
And just like your summit, everything. Honestly, I am proud of you. I'm proud of what you're doing and the movement that it's groundbreaking. If you really think about it, it's a groundbreaking.
Yeah.
And my hats go off to you. My hat, not hats. Hat.
I appreciate it. No, I mean, I think you got it right too. It's not a business anymore. It is a movement, and that's you got to look at it that way.
Yeah, and it's gonna take a village, bigger than a village. It's gonna take a couple cities. You know what I mean? It really is. So just keep it up, man. Like me and Anthony have your back 100%, and
Absolutely.
we will be shouting you out definitely because like this is new to me. I'm gonna be checking this out. I think you blew my mind. You blew my mind with the whole sugar addiction, and then Anthony too.
You'll probably get an email. You'll probably get an email from me with my tail between my legs and be like, "Hey, I just threw out everything in my pantry and my fridge. What do I buy? Where do I start? I'm gonna be grumpy in 5 days. I know it. I'll make sure I don't have my kids." I'm already like mentally preparing myself for all this stuff while we're having this discussion. So
that's awesome.
Ready? I'm here. And I got you back too. So if you're ready, just
awesome.
We appreciate that.
Casters start a little group in their community and do it. So whatever you guys are ready.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we could. Like I keep on saying I'm gonna drop our Discord soon and make a little community. So we really got to get on that. So I'm gonna start doing that, and then definitely we'll have you in there, and we'll figure something out. Just let me get the ball rolling on that first. And we got so many projects on. I'm thinking about an app, thinking about this. We got a bunch of different things going on. It's hard. I got ADHD, so I'm just like I'm doing everything full 100%, and then like I stop to do something else. Like Anthony, I'll tell you, I'm up till like 2, 3 in the morning, and then I
Yeah.
got to get up till 5 in the morning to go to work again. I'm running off of like 3 hours of sleep, but it's just because I'm so addicted to this, because the potential, and and then it's like having people like you, guests like you, come on the show. It's inspiring. Like, look what you did to me. You opened up something in my mind. You're gonna open up other people, and just having you on the show, giving you our platform for you to use, is gonna help other people, and that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah. Very cool.
Well, I think that does it for episode 19, season
Yes.
2.
And
It's been a pleasure, man. You guys are doing great work. Keep it up.
thank you so much, Mike. You
Thank
as
you.
well.
Yeah.
And for anybody listening, if you're interested in coming on the show, shoot us an email at rawmindspodcast@gmail.com. That's how we got connected with Mike. We do a quick little pre-interview, and then we give you the rundown, and we'll get you on the show when we can. We'd love to hear from you. Like we said early on in the show, we love feedback. And if you're struggling, don't hesitate to reach out too. That's why we're here. We're just a couple guys who've been through some shit, all of us. We love hearing stories, and we love connecting, especially with our listeners. Me and Eric connect every day, but with the listeners, it's just as important for us too. So we want to thank everybody for listening. And that's it from me. Mike, thank you so much, my friend. That was amazing. I got far more information out of tonight than I anticipated. I feel good about not going to work for the rest of the week because tonight was so productive. That's how good I feel.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And thank you, Mike. I mean, you want to come on and plug anything else that comes up in the future, man? We'd love to have you on, and we'll talk more about the sugar addiction, man. So definitely, whenever something pops up, shoot us an email. You have my phone number. We'll still be in contact, and we'll make this happen, man.
All right, buddy. You guys take care.
All right, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye. There we go. Thanks.